friends, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the It Cosmetics CC Cream. I received this in an Ipsy subscription, I want to say, a few weeks ago or almost a month ago, and I decided I wanted to test it. I've heard mixed things about this. Some people really love it. Everybody's been surprised by the amount of coverage of it, and I thought this would be a fun thing to try. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this product. I'm going to show you my first impression day. At first, I thought that this was going to only do one use for me, which is not true because this amount right here, it's like I haven't even touched it yet, and I've been testing it for a while because it goes so far. But I did a first impression day. I then spent a while testing it afterwards, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it at the end. So this is, as I mentioned, the CC Plus cream. It is the color correcting full coverage cream. It does have SPF 50 and it's UVA and UVB, which is awesome. If you were to buy the full size of this in Canada, it will cost you $52. You do get 32 milliliters for that, which is a little bit more than a standard fluid ounce, but it is a fair price, or not a fair price, it is a pricier foundation. They have 12 shades available of this, and it's not a great shade range. At first I thought, okay, CC cream, it doesn't maybe need to be a great shade range because it kind of matches, but that's more BB cream. This is actually super high coverage, which means matching is almost a little bit more important, and they do not have a great shade range. They say that this is developed with plastic surgeons. The Your Skin But Better CC Cream with SPF 50 is your #1 best-selling, award-winning color-correcting cream that delivers 7 products in one, including your full coverage foundation, hydrating anti-aging serum, and SPF 50. Your multitasking beauty miracle provides clinically tested hydration while diffusing the appearance of skin imperfections for flawless-looking coverage that won't crease or crack. Infused with hydrolyzed collagen, peptides, niacin, hyaluronic acid, antioxidants, and vitamins, the skin-loving full coverage foundation diffuses the look of wrinkles, minimizes the appearance of pores, and gives you a luminous, supple, flawless-looking complexion. It's truly your must-have for instant complexion perfection. So I was excited about the idea of this smoothing out pores, smoothing out fine lines, providing moisturization, and having the physical sunscreen in there. I will say that you shouldn't ever completely depend on your foundation to be your sunscreen because you generally don't put on enough foundation for it to act like a sunscreen, but it can't help to have another layer there. So what I want to do now is go into the first impression day, and then I'll be back to give you my thoughts. We're just coming up on, 8:45, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it is first impression time, which I don't often do on this channel, but since we just have a little mini sample, I wanted to get the best review out of it that I could. This is the little sample that we have. I am going to do half my face with the brush that I almost always use for foundation, which is this crown brush. It's just a little paddle type brush. I really like this, but I will also do, because apparently that is what the people on YouTube do, or this is what the people on YouTube do for first impressions, I'm also going to use a beauty blender on half my face. I'll also mention that the great thing about using the colored beauty blenders, you don't feel like you're putting something full of dyes on your face. The bad thing is you realize how much a beauty blender stains when there's no color to cover it up. So I have washed and moisturized my face. I've not put any primer on. It does say though that this can act as like your primer, your moisturizer, your SPF. So they're really trying to say that it does like multitasking. Okay, let us see. There we go. I mean, it does say to put on 1 to 2 pumps, but since I don't have a pump on it, we'll do the best we can. I feel like that might be a lot. We'll see. And those of you who watch my channel often know that I tend to be a more medium to low coverage kind of person for my foundations. But I'll try to do higher coverage today because that is what this foundation is. I think it's smoothing on quite nicely. It's looking very dewy and hydrating right now. I mean, for people who like super, super high coverage, I wouldn't say it's quite that. Let me zoom you in a little bit so you can see this a bit better. So I think you can see that it's looking hydrating. Up here though, I do have one dark freckle up here. It's not covering that. So, you know, if you had a lot of stuff to cover, it might not. Now for me, I have some wrinkles and stuff around my mouth, so we'll see there. I mean, it's doing a pretty nice job. I mean, I can still definitely see my pores, but they're not highlighted in any way. And everything is looking, as I said, very dewy. I'm liking it so far. So, I feel like that's also a lot, but the good thing about a beauty blender, and I could be wrong, but I think there's a couple of reasons why people really like beauty blenders, is I do think they give a really natural finish by like pressing into your skin. But I also think that if you are somebody who tends to be a little heavy-handed with foundation, that beauty blenders pick some of that up, which gives you a better amount of coverage. It's so interesting to me how, I mean, this still looks very dewy, but sometimes the beauty blender side can almost look less dewy than the brush side. Okay. For a higher coverage foundation than I usually use, this is looking gorgeous. I actually prefer the brush side because I think it still looks very natural. There's no streaks. It's melded well with my skin, but I get a little higher coverage there. And my pores look the same on both sides. Yeah, everything looks really nicely melted into my skin. It's not cakey looking in any way so far. It's definitely a little bit fair on me, which you can see zoomed out now. But that's also because my chest tends to get really red here, and I can like warm it all up with a little bit of powder. I actually don't think, looking in the camera, it looks like I am getting so much like whiteness off my face. But when I actually look in my mirror, it looks pretty good. So I think it's just the way that the light is bouncing. Like maybe if I can't really turn the ring light down at all, but I think it just might be the way the light is bouncing, because here, maybe if I sit back a little bit more, you can see that it's not quite as crazy white. Okay, I'm going to go apply the rest of my foundation. I'm probably gonna let this sit for a little bit to see if I can sort of, it feels very moisturized right now and very tacky, so I'm gonna let it sit for maybe like 5 minutes, and then I'll do the rest of my makeup and come back and let you know what I'm thinking. Hey guys, I'm back. It is just after 9 o'clock, so that is going to be when my makeup went on. And I'll just tell you what I did to the rest of my face. Because I brought the foundation up pretty close under my eyes, I didn't feel like I needed a lot of under eye concealer, but I used a little bit of the Benefit Erase Paste. I set my whole face, including my under eyes, with the Pretty Vulgar setting powder, just a very light layer of it. I find it's a very, like, it doesn't change the finish of anything very much. It's kind of a very standard feeling setting powder. I did a little bit of contouring with my Park Avenue Princess palette. I just warmed up around my forehead and around sort of my cheekbones a little bit. I tend to sort of use a combination of shades, like this plus this or this plus this, and then also just sort of along my jawline a little bit. My eye makeup today is just this shade here, which is Princess Cut, fluffed into the crease on a big brush. That's entirely it. And then I did a bit of the Tarte Big Ego mascara. I used the Mellow Brow Gel to set my brows a little bit, and I just realized that I have nothing on my lips. I'm gonna go put on some lip gloss. It's not a big deal. And in looking close up at my skin, it looks flawless. I look like I have the most perfect skin. Adding on a powder just smoothed everything out. It looks like I have no pores. It just I'll zoom you in and show you. Like, my skin looks like skin, but it just looks like glowing, dewy, no pores, no wrinkles kind of skin. Like, even super close up, so far it's looking gorgeous, like absolutely gorgeous. pretty good. I'm excited to see how this lasts through the day. I'll see you at my next check-in. It is just after 11 a.m. so this has been on for 2 hours, and I wanted to sit down and give you an update because I have noticed things. So first of all, I think just because I'm not used to wearing a heavier foundation, I feel like I'm getting little spots on my face that are itchy, and it's one of those things where I don't know if the heavier foundation is giving me, and I'm talking about like 3 times in the last 2 hours I've felt a little tickle. But also because I'm wearing a higher coverage foundation, I'm like, oh, I can't scratch my face because it's going to like disturb the foundation. But what I really wanted to sit down and tell you is after about an hour, I was in my washroom, which like a lot of washrooms has really unflattering lighting. It just has the lighting right above the mirror, like halogen lights. And so all the light is coming from above. And when I was in there, I looked at myself and I was like, oh, this does not look good. So I looked closer, and I think, first of all, this ring light makes everything look better because you're evenly illuminating the face. There's no shadows or anything going on. But when I was looking in that mirror there, I was noticing how heavy everything was looking. Like it really emphasized like wrinkles on my chin and my pores, and was starting to settle and even like pill up a little bit in my larger wrinkles at the side of my mouth. And just not looking that great. And even now in my mirror here with this kind of lighting, it is starting to look really heavy, and I'm only 2 hours in, you know, around my nose and around my mouth. And I'm starting to see it, yeah, highlighting wrinkles there. So let me zoom you in and see if I can show you. And again, it's hard because of the ring light, but it's really looking very makeup-y around here. And again, I'm not so used to higher coverage foundation, so that may be part of it. But it's really emphasizing like my wrinkles that I have here, which is not something I generally try to do. So I'm obviously going to keep wearing this for the day. Maybe it'll warm up and sort of meld a little bit more and do some good things for my skin. Also, I was setting this up as a first impression day video, but I didn't realize how little of this product I actually have to use to have it go a whole way on, like, cover my whole face. So I can probably actually get a good number of days of use out of this. So while I will do today as a first impression day, after this I will do some testing with maybe some more hydrating primers, smoothing primers. Also, I didn't use any setting spray, which can really help everything, you know, settle down and like connect with the skin a little bit more. So this is changing from a first impression to a longer term test. I have decided right now. I'll see you for a check-in a little bit later. It is now 1:30, so we were at 4.5 hours of wear. I was just looking at myself in a mirror in natural lighting and noticing a few things. Where I do have these wrinkles here, it's starting to separate a little bit in that way that it looks almost like pilled up. And I do find that in the areas where my pores are, it's sort of moving into my pores a little bit and making it look heavier. I think, as always, it's a testament to this ring light that it's looking as good as it is right now. So let's zoom in and I'll show you what I see. Now that we're nice and close, yeah, it's starting to look pretty heavy here, as it almost looks like it's settling into my pores a bit. And as well, looking separated here. I think it's looking fine on my forehead. It doesn't seem to be going into any wrinkles there. I mean, it's okay right now. I wouldn't be like embarrassed to wear it out, but I'm not looking the freshest. On with the rest of my day. Hey guys, it's coming up on 6 o'clock, so this has been on for almost 9 hours. You can see that I've changed. Part of the reason for that is it is so hard at this time of year to judge what I need to wear when I go out for a walk. I went walking for groceries for like an hour, and I had on just the green shirt that you saw earlier and like a spring jacket, like a rain jacket, and a scarf. And it was so warm out in the sun. So I got a little sweaty, so I came home and changed. So, you know, I also was wearing sunglasses, so I got some sunglass marks. Here's what I'm noticing about this foundation is, have you ever heard the expression, like, looks good from far, but far from good? I find that if I'm at like this distance, it looks really nice. Every time I sort of caught a glimpse of myself in like a mirror or something where I was standing back a little ways, it looked fine. The problem is when you get closer up. So let me get you closer up. So I am looking a little shiny at this point. I still find, I don't think it's gotten that much worse since I showed you guys before. So it almost looks like it's, oh, maybe it's because it's rubbed off a little bit around my nose, but it's still a little bit moved into my pores. It's still a little separated. It feels so heavy on my chin right now. Like, ugh, it feels like thick there. Like I kind of just feel like I want to get it off my face. And part of that is that it's a higher coverage, like full coverage foundation that I'm not used to. Again, I wouldn't be embarrassed to go out like this at all. It's looking nice on my forehead, like it hasn't settled into any lines there. It's just my pore area and around my mouth and my nose that it's looking a little cakey, which isn't great. So I'm going to continue testing this with different primers, different powders, different setting sprays, see if I can get it to work, because I do think it looks beautiful at first and there are some really good aspects to it. So I'm going to keep testing it. And now I'm going to go wash it off my face because it just feels so thick and kind of greasy right now, which isn't awesome. Okay, I will see you guys soon. You can see I had a few issues on that first day, so I really wanted to play around with this and find a way to make it work with different primers, different powders, different ways of applying, different setting sprays, and unfortunately I never found a way that made it come up to the level of my favorite foundation. So on the first day it was looking kind of heavy, it was looking very makeup-y and a little bit cracked in the lines around my mouth. So I thought, okay, I've probably just applied a little bit too much of it. So I did the next day use a hydrating primer and, you know, used it more sheer. And in that case, it still had some problems sort of separating in the fine lines around my mouth, and still wasn't looking great by the end of the day. It looked like it had rubbed off a lot in certain places. I then decided to try to use maybe a little bit mixed with a facial oil, which sometimes provides a little bit more luminosity to it and thins it out a little bit. Now, when I did that, again, it looked beautiful on application. Every time I used this, it looked beautiful for about the first 2 hours, and then problems started happening. When I mixed it with the oil, though, even though it didn't feel like I had foundation on, my skin felt very oily by the end of the day. Like I was touching, if I rested my hand on my chin or anything like that, I could see like the oil on my hand when I took it away. And that would have been after about 6 hours of wear. So the oil didn't really help. Something about the heaviness of it just made it too heavy. I also found that this foundation did what sometimes foundations do for me, especially those with a little bit more coverage, is when I look at the area where my pores are during the day, it almost looks like the foundation gathers into my pores. So it ends up looking a little pebbly and rough, but when you look closely, it looks like there's little dots of where there's more foundation. And I did try also using a pore filling foundation to address that, or sorry, a pore filling primer to address that, but it didn't help. So I couldn't really find a way that this didn't look pretty heavy by the end of the day, and also just look very foundation-y and makeup-y by the end of the day. Now, I will say that I am not a high coverage foundation kind of person, so a lot of things that I did were trying to keep this a little bit lighter on my skin. And if you are somebody who wears full coverage foundation, there are going to be different issues you have to deal with. You do have to deal a bit more with it looking heavy, with it moving and cracking in lines on your skin. But for me, even when I tried to address that by making this foundation a little bit lighter on my skin, it was still having those problems. The thing is, it looks gorgeous when it first goes on. Like when it first goes on, it just makes your skin look like doll-like and luminous and beautiful and amazing. So for me, I mean, if I was going on a special evening out or going to an event where I needed to look good for like 2 to 3 hours, I would definitely use this because it looks great. If you were, you know, having, as I said, some kind of special event or like something that was like that time frame that you want it to look good for, and it doesn't look terrible by the end of the day. Like, it's not like you're embarrassed to be out and around in it by the end of the day. It's just I've had foundations that wear better. So that's my review. I hope it's helpful for you guys, but I would love to know what your impression is of this foundation if you've used it, especially if you're somebody who uses higher coverage foundation. Let me know how this compares to that. I am going to keep this around in my makeup kit. As I said, when I have special events to go to, I may reach for this. But as far as my like going to work, need this to be on for 9 to 10 hours foundation. It's just not going to be that. There's just too many problems that come up during the day. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so, and I look forward to seeing all of you in my next video. Bye!